Welcome to the Field of 68 Best Bet Show, hosted by BetRivers. I'm Kai McEwen. We are the three-man weave. It is a small slate on this Thursday. Matt, a nice Thursday in Chicago. Unseasonably warm, 40 degrees.
We'll take it.
I'm excited to talk hoops despite the small slate. And fellas, I know you are too. Jim, yesterday, there were some games. Did you see anything you liked, you didn't like? What'd you say?
I'm gonna go to my home state, Wisconsin. I am a Wisconsinite. Had a couple of games for
such bogus
Wisconsin teams. Well, Matt, Marquette still rocks as an underdog, so don't get mad about that.
That's true. That one I'm on. Good.
Won outright at K-State. The team has been awesome as an underdog, except when they play Wisconsin, who came from behind yesterday. Kai, I know that was an absolutely ridiculous beat if you had 4.5, because I believe the only time it was outside of that number was legitimately the final 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, that's right.
Indiana, Matt, it's like clockwork. They go to Madison, they melt down. They either do it early and get blown out, or they do it late like they did there. And it's no different from when Bobby Knight was in charge, or Tom Crean was in charge, or Archie Miller was in charge, or Mike Davis was in charge.
It runs deep.
Can't win.
It cuts deep, Jim. I can't explain it. I mean, I can within the vacuum of last night, which was Xavier Johnson deciding he's going to be Michael Jordan and just sort of ignoring the All-American guy inside. I think Mike Woodson has some blood in his hands with that. But let's not dwell on that. I don't think Kai wants to hear about that disgusting collapse anymore.
I don't.
Hey, Jim, Marquette, that was sort of where I was going with my takeaway. Should have probably collabed on our takeaways here. Very impressed with the Golden Eagles' execution down the stretch. I know it wasn't like overly pretty, but I think Marquette looks like a lot more balanced of a team than maybe we thought coming into the year. I'm just impressed with some of the offensive stuff they're running. And I'm kind of buying in Marquette as a sneaky Big East dark horse. I know K-State is not some world beater. They're young. They're small.
Nigel Pack was out.
Nigel Pack was out. Yeah, you can normalize it all you want. In general, I'm looking beneath the surface from what I saw last night, other than the, meager 1-point win at a bottom trodden Big 12 team. I like Marquette. On Shaka this year. I think he's going to do good things.
I have a new policy too. Anytime Arizona wins by 25 plus, they're part of my takeaways. That team is incredible.
Yes, they are.
Guys, they might be the second best team in the country, or like the best. Like Purdue, sure, they can have the number one ranking right now. They deserve it. But Arizona's done absolutely nothing wrong. They're a juggernaut. Yeah. Curious as they start getting a little tougher competition. Big one this weekend, which we'll discuss on this show on Saturday.
Yeah, Arizona rocks, guys. That was my takeaway, Jim. I just wanted to say they rock.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, Wyoming's been invincible against the spread too. And they were down like 35 at halftime.
Yep.
Yeah. I was on the over and I was nervous because Wyoming had like 22 points at half, but thankfully Arizona scored almost 100. Got there. Good job, Cats. Guys, let's talk basketball. There's only like 13 games, so I guarantee we're going to hit them all, including the chat mob questions and our best bets. We're going to start with Texas at Seton Hall, the marquee matchup of the day. Seton Hall has slipped to a favorite. They opened at +2. Texas was favored by 2 on the road at Hall. KenPom does have Seton Hall -1. It is now sitting at, I believe, pick -1 at BetRivers. Matt, Texas has played
half. That weird minus half.
Oh.
Yeah.
Matt, Texas has played one team inside the top 215 this year per KenPom. It was Gonzaga. So we really don't know how good Texas is. How good's Texas? Should you bet Seton Hall or Texas?
I'm a Pirate. It's a Pirate's life for me tonight, Kai. I'm not at the current number. I think you guys will make better cases for why you should counterpunch against myself and all my fellow whales who hopped in on the Pirates early in the overnight markets. One thing I worry I didn't quite factor in enough, Bryce Aiken did not play last game. Former Harvard transfer who's been an enigma his entire career, injury-ridden his entire collegiate career, phenomenal shot maker. He's been a really nice piece for them this season. Mm-hmm. Unquestionable whether or not he plays tonight. They did get Miles Cale back last game.
I think it was just like non-Division I rest type thing.
Rest. Okay. That's right. I mean, I knew it was an illness thing. It seems like teams are being overly cautious with the illness thing this year. We've seen guys miss multiple games more than we would have thought, even for a non-COVID thing. Even if he's out, I still like Seton Hall. I think the size up front overwhelms Texas, Jim, which is, for a Chris Beard team, shockingly vulnerable up front.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see Dylan Disu yet. He has yet to debut. And even if he does, I can't imagine he's going to make a major impact in his first game. Texas going on the road for the second time this year. It's very much like kind of a prove it thing with Texas. I'd like to see them play a really good game before I get too emphatic about punching against the market, because I think they should be favored just talent wise and Chris Beard. But I'm sure that Gonzaga performance is in people's minds. We've seen a good version of Seton Hall go to Michigan and win. So I get why the line has moved. I still kind of lean towards Texas, but yeah, like we said, I'm not confident yet because we just haven't seen this roster come together and prove it. It's not Memphis bad chemistry, nowhere near that.
No.
But Kai, there's at least like potential for some issues with pecking order.
And gosh, you look at their schedule, and Texas non-con schedule sucks.
It's a Chris Beard staple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Their other good game is neutral against Stanford, which isn't going to be a great win if they should win that game. They also play Tennessee later on in the year at home. They kind of need this game. They're going to get plenty of chances in the Big 12, but this could go a long way for the resume in March. Talent-wise, Texas is kind of overwhelmingly better on paper than Seton Hall, but I don't know, man. They're not tested yet. I'm scared to back either team, frankly. So I'll stay away, and I'll root for whatever Matt's on.
Thank you. I appreciate your support, as always.
Matt, do you have any total take here?
No, I don't. I feel like we should have a total inside take, given there's so many small games. Bet down a point to 134.5. I could see this being ugly. No question.
Yeah, so. I lean towards the under. I think the Texas offense still has some kinks to work out. I think Seton Hall's defense, when engaged, is incredible. They've had a few lax performances, most notably against Bethune-Cookman at home. But I would lean that way, especially the way the tempo that Beard's playing at. He is not unleashing those guys. So lean towards the under.
All right, Iowa State, the Cy-Hawk. Fellas, the spread's gotten up there. Wonka Dog in the chat thinks Inaruna is out for Iowa State. That might be part of the
I buy him. He's citing ISU message boards, and I'm in all seriousness. I'm 100%.
I love digging message.
I'm dead serious. It's no sarcasm. I believe it. Message boards are more reliable than any sort of reporter that exists today, it seems like.
Jim, as I've said on several platforms, this is the first time since 2001 that Iowa State has not been a favorite at Hilton Magic against Iowa in this matchup. Do you think they can get it done tonight? We know the magic of the Coliseum is real, but Iowa looks damn good this year.
Yeah, I think this is a bad matchup for Iowa State. I think the Clones playing Memphis was like, okay, team that cannot take care of the ball against Iowa State, who's got this defensive turn you over identity, 5th nationally in defensive turnover rate. That was perfect. That worked out great for the Clones. The snowball kept rolling down the hill and Memphis just collapsed. Iowa's number 1 in offensive turnover rate. They take care of the ball. That's a yearly staple under Fran McCaffrey. We have, every so often we have some issues with his coaching, or especially on the defensive end, but their ball movement is near perfect.
Yeah.
They take care of it. I think that is a really big sore spot for Iowa State. I looked at it. They're in synergy. They're like 89th percentile in transition points per possession. This is Iowa State. And only like 47th in half court. So if they don't get the turnovers fueling their offense, I think that's going to cause problems. And I don't think the Hawkeyes will turn it over, Matt. So matchup wise, I lean Iowa, but I can't tell you to bet it at -5, -5.5.
Yeah, I'm on the Clones. It's my best bet. And you can sound by the lack of enthusiasm in my voice. I'm not thrilled about it, but hey, we will forge ahead with the options at our disposal on a 13-game slate. It's a pure value play for me. I think Jim hit all the right matchup points, most of which favor Iowa. I was saying on our podcast last night, I think Iowa seems like undervalued right now. I think they can go in and take care of business. But man, Iowa State at home, the Hilton Magic in a rivalry game getting +5, even without Tristan Inaruna, they have an upsize up front. Kai, I know we're sort of poking fun at Elijah Kuntz and Robert Jones, low mid-major guys who are playing prominent roles. Oh, it's my alarm that's my, hey, announce best bet alarm right there. Kai, point is they have enough bodies there. They have enough bodies. And I think 5.5 at a home for a rivalry game is just way too much.
Yeah, I kind of think Iowa wins this game, but I think it's going to be close, like 2-3 points. That Hilton Magic, man, this place is going to be rocking. Not like the game we saw against Texas like 3 years ago when the students were gone. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I'm leaning towards Iowa State at the current number.
It's an 8-0 ranked team is a home dog of 5. Like that makes you immediately kind of like, what's going on here?
If you were, if you're strictly going by the poll here, you would think what's going on.
Yeah, I think
I took that angle last night with Minnesota. Did not work out well for me. So sort of
not ranked here.
I think Inaruna is actually pretty important. Is someone that can guard Keegan Murray. Like if you have to double because they have to throw somebody slow or small at him, then Iowa's ball movement can shred them. So yeah, that's definitely concerning. I think he matters in this matchup.
Well, let's go to our next game. It's a Big Ten affair. Purdue is going to Rutgers, to the arena formerly known as the Rack, but we will call it the Rack. We're not calling it Jersey Mike's Arena, whatever they renamed it to.
You can't make me. You can't make me.
Can't make us. No. Matt, my gut says Purdue absolutely wrecks Rutgers. There's some illnesses, I think, going around.
Yes.
Obviously, Gio Baker's still out of this game, but they set this line too high. And frankly,
it's big.
The Rack scares me. Even though Rutgers is way worse this year, they can stick around at home, even against a team like Purdue. I'm staying clear away. Gut says Purdue kills them, though.
Yeah, that's where I am. The problem is that the line's too high, as you mentioned. It's hard to tell if the early money was just because people think Purdue's awesome and Rutgers sucks, or was it more of the trying to play the flu injury or illness angle as sort of an undetected.
Both,
probably both. Yeah. I made my number on this game, Jim. And I'm like, I have to have it at least double digits. I won't go below that. And sure enough, now it's already up to what'll be at 13.
BetRivers.
Okay. Tempted to take Rutgers, but I'm not going to.
Rutgers this is a bad Rutgers team.
They're not great.
They against like a competent offense, they can get blown out because their defense isn't quite what it's been. It's not the pounding nails, grind you into dust defense that Pikel usually has. And their offense is bad. Like they made some shots against Clemson. That's their only decent win this year, but they had 48 against NJIT. They struggled to get away from Merrimack. Like this, they're not good. This feels like Arizona going to Oregon State to me. And Rutgers maybe isn't Oregon State caliber bad, but I think that Purdue gets up early and extends in the second half and holds off maybe one meager run and wins by 20.
On our old show last year, people always would give us crap for backing Rutgers. We thought Rutgers was a good team, and they were, he whispered. This year, we're on the crap side. We agree. Rutgers is not good. Their defense, Jim, 16th last year, 61st this year. That's their pillar. That's Steve Pikel's thing at Rutgers. They have to be good at defense because their offense is never quite there. Yeah, like I said, I think Purdue's going to kill them. Just a little bit scared of that home court. Yeah,
the number isn't like I know I just said I think they win by 20, but like I am a slave to numbers and I don't have this minus 17 or something. So it's tentative to bet it. That's just kind of my gut sense on how this plays out.
There is no reason why Rutgers, like if Rutgers is truly bad, they'll get blown out in this game. Everything is in their favor spot-wise. 0-1 in conference at home. Purdue's coming to town, the Rack. I mean, this is just a wave of momentum. Again, the whole flu, the illness thing could dampen that. But yeah, we'll find out what Rutgers is tonight. No question.
Here's a fun one. Colgate is at Pitt. And guess what? Colgate's a 3.5 point favorite. I'm pretty sure that's a higher spread than what Minnesota closed at Pitt. Or at least around 3. Very close.
Yep.
Which is hilarious to me. It might be warranted though, Matt, because Pitt sucks and Odokale's out of this game.
Is he for sure out? Do we know?
I'm not for sure that he's out.
To be honest, the number has to indicate he's out. That's my only
right. I agree. That's why I'm not taking it.
Matt, I know Pitt's bad. I know Colgate's good, but Colgate's also kind of shown some warts this year. They beat Syracuse, but they've lost to some bad teams. This seems ridiculous to me. I'm kind of leaning towards Pitt. I'm not taking it, but I have to lean towards Pitt at 3.5.
Kai, your point is spot on. 3-point favorite. I think it was the same closing for if we assume the current spread for Colgate closes around 3. So that implies Minnesota is equal to Colgate. I think Minnesota is better than Colgate by a couple points. So if you can confirm that Odokale is in, Jim, you're shaking your head.
Minnesota is better than Colgate, but that was before Minnesota blew out Mississippi State. So I think maybe we didn't know Minnesota was better.
No, that's fair. That timing does matter there.
Sure.
But I still think that this line's a little bit off from a pricing perspective. So I do lean Pitt, but I mean, my God, I'm not going to endorse Pitt in this program. I did that once with the best bet and that burned me. So I promised myself and the listeners out there, I wouldn't go back to that well.
I think there's some matchup issues for Pitt. It's not just that Pitt is bad. Their whole defense is like, let's pack in, give up threes. You don't want to do that against Colgate. That's a recipe for disaster. Look at the 18 threes they made against Syracuse's zone. Jack Ferguson and Tucker Richardson will get hot at some point. Matt Richardson's shooting like 23% from deep this year. He's a 40% guy. Like that is going to tick up. I would imagine both of those guys hit like 2 to 3, maybe more threes tonight. That's a problem for Pitt. If Odokale's out, they just have to play through Hughley, who is a monster. He's been really good this year. And he's just one of those guys you turn on the TV and you're like, oh, he's a huge person, like 6'10", 280.
Pitt is big. Pitt has size this year. That's like the one thing they have. That's about it.
Which can give Colgate problems inside. But as long as Colgate's making shots, I think they win. The number's probably right if Odokale's out. just keep an eye on that, I guess.
Instead of the chat mob, I see what the questions are. So we're going to hit one game right now from the mob. So we are going to the mob. The two other games that have been asked so far will show up in our best bets. So hang tight. Matthew Akers, Nicholls State -20 at Mississippi Valley State. And I'll say this, fellas, Mississippi Valley State is not an auto fade this year.
They're feisty.
To my chagrin, they've been playing a lot of like wars. They're really they're holding teams to like no scoring. However, I think that stops tonight. And I know they're at home, which is rare, Jim. We discussed this offline, but I think Nicholls kills them. I'm leaning towards Nicholls at -20.
Yeah,
Mississippi
Valley State hasn't played a D1 non-conference home game in
years
since 2018-19. They played Southeastern Louisiana at home in November of 2018. It's the last time they played a D1 home game. I kind of lean towards them. I think it's going to be a really weird. It'd have been as a strange place, Matt.
Yes,
Nicholls is going to be like, what are we doing here? Why are we amped for this game?
Right.
I think it's going to be gross, and Mississippi Valley State kind of hangs around. And you keep checking the score, and you're like, ew, what's happening in there?
Yeah, anecdotally, I like backing these teams that come home after a long, weary road trip. And the Mississippi Valley State, how you mentioned those, they're playing a lot slower this year. So like they're not getting to these track meets with teams with
still
more talent.
31st in tempo, but yeah, they're a lot slower. Yeah,
it's because they're offensively they're a lot slower.
Driven by defense. Right.
I think what's happened, the layup line, that is their defense. What's happened is that they compete for a little bit, then the lead balloons to like 10 to 15, and they're like, all right, screw it, we're playing the old style where they go up and down, and then the lead gets to 50. Robert Carpenter, I'm going to name drop a Mississippi Valley State player here. Just a random dude that they found, started at St. Bonaventure. Every year, the Delta Devils have one random dude who like was kind of good for a mid-major, who is just a star for them. He's the guy this year. And I kind of think he's good enough to make them really bad, which elevates them from putrid, just to contextualize that lift.
I'm still on the Nicholls is really good train. So I think they have the capability of blowing them out.
Yeah.
Hey, good for Austin Clonch, by the way, for playing this game.
Yeah, I agree.
Complimented Tony Bennett, going James Madison. Good job, Austin Clonch.
Going into the hostile environment there in about what's the name of that stadium? The Harrison Complex, of course.
Of course.
House of horrors for folks.
We're going back to the rundown because we don't have a lot of games. We've said it before.
But hit the like button, subscribe,
hit the like button, please. And subscribe. Yes. Hey, we're up to like 620-ish subscribers. If we get to 1,000 by December 17th, Mr. Rob Douster will send
He's going to make it rain.
5 people $100. That's a $100 bill. If you screenshot your subscription to him.
So create a bunch of fake YouTube accounts.
Honestly,
I think that's fine. Yeah.
If it's worth $100 to you, I'd say do that. Monmouth at St. John's, guys. Monmouth is 8-0 against the spread with an 8.3 cover margin. Jim, St. John's 3-5 against the spread, and they've been kind of tough to watch, man. Like really weird efforts in some of these games.
Yeah, like Matt, turn off your alarm.
Just put it on silent, buddy.
I'm trying to do.
Continue. It's not that hard, I promise. Kai, my number made this a little higher, and I didn't like it. I was not pleased to see that. Monmouth's has been awesome. They've taken money again today, as they probably deservedly should, down to 8 from 9. I mean, the Johnnies still have the capability to blow teams out, especially because this is going to be fast. Both teams want to run. The total has skyrocketed. It's up 5 points from the opener.
Yep.
So that, perhaps they can get something done. But I think this game just means more to Monmouth right now. Like St. John's coming off the opening of UBS Arena against Kansas, played Fordham and kind of skated by there. I want to trust my number here, but I don't want to trust St. John's, Matt. So that's a dilemma that I'm going through.
There's a parallel here between the Detroit Mercy Kent State game, which is also on the small slate tonight. You have a team that's 2-0 in conference play. They're now going to a weird non-conference follow-up to that. How do they respond, right? They just got off to a nice 2-0 start in their league. Is this a flat spot maybe for Monmouth? To me, that doesn't matter because St. John's as a favorite. It's not been very good. And I think Monmouth's just a really good team. And they actually have a decent size, I would say size advantage, but size, it's basically neck and neck up front with Walker Miller. A lot favors Monmouth here. I think the early money got it right, bringing it down to 8. Can't endorse it at 8, though. I'm a slave to my numbers, guy.
8.5, BetRivers. It had really moved. I don't think too much. It's been kind of 8, 9.
I thought it opened at 9. Maybe I saw a bet over. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, man. I mean, I lean towards Monmouth too. I think your point, Matt, about a weird scheduling spot is a good one. If it wasn't St. John's, if it wasn't a power team, I think Monmouth's going to be up for it. I think they're hot right now. They maybe think they can win this game outright. Maybe feeling themselves a little bit. So I'm leaning towards them. Over was my strongest play in this matchup. Jim mentioned the total's gotten quite huge, but I think it's a lot of possessions. I think both teams should have no issue scoring the basketball. St. Francis put up like 70 points against St. John's. I think Monmouth will be fine scoring.
This is another live bet game. All St. John's games really are.
Oh, yeah.
But if one team goes up, bet the other, and maybe you end up with a nice juicy middle where you get both teams in a nice live spot.
And Matt, you mentioned it. We're going to talk about Detroit at Kent State right now. It's a weird Horizon MAC battle. Detroit has covered 2 straight, looking a little bit better after their putrid start. And Kent State's been a little up and down. I can't get a good feel for them quite yet. I think they're really good. And maybe Towson's just awesome. Towson kind of took care of business against them. I don't really have a play in this one at all. I'm leaning towards Kent State, Matt, but I want to hear you give me more of a firm opinion.
I don't have a lean here either. It's a fascinating game, though. There's a lot of different handicap angles you can pick on if you want to take a side. Roster personnel is one of them. Detroit just got Noah Waterman back and Matt Johnson, 2 key cogs the last game or two. I think they provide a boost to the Titans, and they looked a lot better in those first 2 conference games. Jacobs came back for Kent State last game, Jim. So again, both teams getting key guys back recently. I just think Kent State's sort of in shell shock, trying to adjust to life without Danny Pippen, and the offense looks really herky-jerky without him. It's like you take such a high-usage guy out of the offense, and then I think it just takes time to figure out how to reallocate the shot selection and stuff. So haven't really passed my eye test, Jim, and I'd probably lean Detroit if I had to take a side here.
Yeah, and there's also the slight angle of Kent State went to Detroit and beat the crap out
of them
last
year.
year.
Good call.
And that was like a pretty good Detroit team. So, Antoine Davis remembers it. Mike Davis remembers it. And this Kent State team is a little worse. Problem is, I don't really trust Detroit's defense at all. It's been a little better recently, and it's better with Waterman on the court for sure. But I just, man, it's not something that I want to back here. I made this number right about what it is, so I am not forcing anything in this one.
Let's talk about Gonzaga, who is the number 5 team in the country now. Ridiculous 8 people. I understand. It's what you've done. Whatever. They are playing Merrimack in a game that I think is going to be a straight up murder. I don't think Merrimack's zone, Jim, is going to work against Gonzaga. The height difference, 7th in the country versus 340th. And Gonzaga's got to be pissed. They've been playing a gauntlet, coming off a loss. I think they're just ready to thrash someone. And unfortunately, Merrimack's in the way. However, the spread's like 32, so I can't do much with that.
Yeah, I mean, Merrimack's going to try to do what Tarleton did. They're going to try to slow this game down, drag Gonzaga into the muck, long possessions, force a few turnovers, and then sap the clock by just kind of stalling. I don't think Gonzaga tolerates that this time. I think Tarleton's really, really good at that. And that was also in between the Duke and Alabama games, whereas this one, there's not really like a look ahead spot or anything for Gonzaga. The 2 losses, I think, makes them even more angry. And you can destroy Merrimack on the glass. Brown just did it. And Gonzaga is obviously a completely different animal than Brown. So, I kind of lean your way. Just the tempo concerns scare me. Can they like get enough possessions to actually destroy them here? That's the question. Total's a little low for a Gonzaga game because of how Merrimack plays. But I certainly would not touch Merrimack because angry Gonzaga against a small team scares me.
Yeah, so the parallels to the Tarleton State thing is pace, yes, but Tarleton actually has like athletes, like not like size, but athletes, long wings. Merrimack doesn't really have that. I know they'll try and mask it with that trickery and deceptive zone. I think the Zags carve it up. I mean, there's not a better passing, cutting, find open guy, share ball team in the country than the Zags. I think Gonzaga is the right side.
Yeah, tough travel spot for Merrimack too. Play Tuesday. Then got to go all the way
to
from
Spokane.
East Coast to Spokane on Wednesday, play Thursday. Yeah.
To get your ass beat, most likely. Yeah. I see a little white flag being waved second half.
All right. I can't believe this game's in the rundown. It's my mistake. I didn't put Arizona State in the rundown, but we'll get there later. LIU at Fordham. That's right.
It's a big New York battle, Kai. This matters
Island.
To people.
Battle of the Boroughs.
The Sharks.
Not really.
That's right. Man, I miss the Blackbirds. I'll be honest. But the Sharks is like almost as good of a nickname. So I'm cool with it. LIU, just letting you guys know. Fordham. All right. The line's a little bit too high for me. It's still Fordham, in my opinion here, Matt. LIU, though, has been impressive thus far. They lost by 2 to St. Peter's. They blew out Delaware State, and they hung with Delaware and Towson on the road their last 4 games. Are they turning the corner? This is a team we thought could be decent this year coming into the season with how much they brought back.
I think this line's way too high. I'm just not taking it because I don't really trust LIU right now because their guards stink. They have solid bigs, good wings, but when you're a low major team and don't have a steady guard tandem, it just results in bad shot selection, turnovers, really combustible type of ingredients there when you don't have good guards. Fordham's guards much improved this year, Jim. They're a lot better. I've been on them a couple times early. I think this line's bananas high. There must be someone out or two that I haven't investigated for LIU. I don't get why it's got to 8.
I just think people think Fordham's better than they have been, and the guards for LIU stink. I wanted this at 6. I missed it. I full disclosure, I just did not get the bet in on this one. I'm a little bummed. I would love to have that CLV in my pocket, but unfortunately not the case here. I just think Fordham's like categorically better than they've been. I don't know that Neptune is like a whiz kid, but he's at least got something figured out on offense. Like Matt said, their guards, Quisenberry and Antonio Day, are competent, which is something they didn't have in the past. And they can at least battle in the paint a little bit. And that's where all of LIU's strength is. So it is a little bit high. It has crossed over where I would have taken it. So can't really endorse anything, unfortunately.
I think I'm leaning towards the over here. Both teams will get up and down, but the offenses on both teams are terrible. Like they're both very poor. Fordham's defense is solid. Can't say the same about LIU. I agree, Matt. I'm a little scared of LIU here. Feels high, not touching it.
Someone's got to be out. Someone has to be out.
I don't think so, man.
Someone's got to be out.
I think it's a reasonable move. All right, let's talk 2 games in the chat mob here and then do best bets. NC State is hosting Bethune-Cookman. I think this line's gotten down a little bit here, maybe 24-ish. Yep, 24 at BetRivers. Jim, does that make sense to you?
Well, NC State hasn't blown anyone out yet this year, which is weird. That seems like it's usually their MO, but Central Connecticut State couldn't get away from them. That's probably the one that is the closest, most analogous game to this one. And this one's at Reynolds Coliseum. It's not at the big PNC Arena where they usually play. So a little more of a tight atmosphere, intimate kind of thing. Maybe the energy of the students will fuel NC State in that, but I'm not totally buying into it. Bethune-Cookman's been a little bit feisty as an underdog a couple times at South Florida, at least until the final 5 minutes. At Seton Hall, they really hung around at Seton Hall. So NC State's got to really, really care about this one, and I'm not sure they will. They just played that 4 overtime game and then a heartbreaking conference loss to Louisville. Unless they're angry, get right attitude here, then I could see it being a little bit of a letdown energy effort, Matt.
Yeah, but then they'll play some zone. I think they muck it up more than they're not like another SWAC or MEAC team that wants to press and get up and down, which is a recipe for disaster against a large favorite. Bethune will muck this game up a little bit, and I don't think it's going to be tough for NC State to get over the number. I just don't see a 40-point thrashing coming here.
Probably lean Bethune as well. Nothing strong.
Yeah.
The other game we need to touch before best bets is New Mexico. They're hosting Denver. And it's a good question in the chat. It's a letdown spot for the Lobos after that New Mexico State win. It's absolutely a letdown spot, but the line opened at 12.5. And I'm not betting Denver at 12.5, Matt. Now that it's gotten to 14, okay, good. I don't have to take the Lobos on the show here. But I'm not really excited to back Denver either. They're obviously better without Rodney Billups. Rodney Billups leading the program. Still not a good team.
No, they have, I would say, a little bit more talent than they had last year. Your boy, Coben Porter's back, brother of the golden boy, Michael Porter Jr. That's right. A nice piece for the Denver Pios. But Jim, I was with Kai. I'm leaning New Mexico at the opener. It's been bet up. I can't take them. And Denver's been feisty. They really have been feisty this year at times.
Yeah, it's not just coming off of one New Mexico State game. They had the win at New Mexico State, then the loss at home in the pit, and kind of a look ahead to another rivalry game with UTEP. This is a weird soft spot in their schedule that I could see a team that I sort of characterize as a little bit immature, like House and Mashburn are just kind of erratic in the backcourt. Their meltdown against UAB certainly points toward immature. So the effort could be poor here, but man, I think they're more talented. I think the market was really, really low on them with the opener, so I lean that way too. Still close to where my number would bet New Mexico, but the spot scares me away from taking it on the show, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Matt's actually kind of right. Denver 7-1 against the spread. I was unaware of that.
The expectations coming in were so low from what Billups did there.
True.
It's the Portland comparison, Jim, you made is apt. Just a gargantuan upgrade in coaching. New guy brings in a better collection of newcomers. Yeah, it looks herky-jerky a little bit, but just the fact that they compete and they don't have an incompetent guy on the sidelines helps.
Yeah. All right, let's get to best bets. Matt, lead us off. We're going to cover those last two games we haven't touched on quite yet. Matt, go ahead.
Going with the Clones, plus 5.5. I'm taking the hook. Thank you, BetRivers, for offering that to me. Again, no strong matchup leans. I just think the value has gotten a little bit out of control, even without potentially Tristan and Aruna in the mix for the Clones shimmy. I know you guys are a little bit against me on that one, but juicy price for the home.
I'm with you.
You with me, Kai? Hilton Magic. Come on, baby. Let's go. That's all I got.
The barn didn't take care of business for you, unfortunately.
No, it didn't. It didn't. It's kind of it wasn't a great atmosphere, actually. I was a little upset.
Yeah, the back door almost helped you, but okay, yeah. My best bet's coming from the extra board. It is Hampton plus 3.5 going to William and Mary. William and Mary is really, really bad this year. I think the value is still working on cratering. They actually made threes against Old Dominion. I think they were 9 of 24 and still didn't cover. So it still lost by 15. Like that's a problem. And then Hampton's very athletic. They can bother you with length. They've got a couple Old Dominion transfers on that roster. Deuce Dean, their point guard's solid. They're terrible defensively, but I don't think William and Mary can take advantage of that. So yeah, I will go with Hampton plus 3.5. Kind of hold your nose. I don't love trusting Hampton, but Matt, you were a Pirate boy in the Seton Hall game. I'm a Pirate here in my best bet.
I'm walking the plank, Jimbo. All in on Hampton. I think it's the best bet on the slate. You took the best bet on the slate. So I'm with you. Here's my one concern. William and Mary, a team that we can't, like, they're worse and worse and worse than we think they can possibly be. I look at the slate last night and I see efforts from like Idaho and Omaha. There's one other team where it's like, it feels like maybe this is the point in the season where these teams who have been a dumpster fire show up and play one competitive game. God, I hope not, but that's my concern.
Yeah. How bad can they be?
How bad are you? Yeah. Right.
Idaho's 6-2 against the spread, and William and Mary is 0 against the spread. So hopefully the do theory doesn't come into play here.
Idaho's probably a bad example. You're right. They've not been as bad as I thought. Fair point.
Omaha's a good example. I wasn't expecting that, although they covered against a couple teams actually too. I lean towards Hampton as well, Jim. Good pick. Way to go, man.
Hey,
here's my best bet, which is a little bit anti-market actually. And I got to do it though, Jim. Arizona State minus 3.5 is my best bet. I'm not confident. Marcus Bagley's still out. It's a tough spot following in the Oregon win. Frankly, Bobby Hurley's presser after Oregon did not give me a lot of confidence in this game. He's basically just like, oh yeah, whatever. Grand Canyon. He said multiple times, this is a huge game for Grand Canyon and they're going to be really up for this. And he's like, my guys are like, yeah, I'm going to try to like tell them that it's a big deal, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great. You're really inspiring a lot of confidence, man. But I think the Devils are talented enough to win this. I'm not totally convinced on Grand Canyon this year. Sure, they blew out Mississippi Valley State. Congratulations. But they haven't covered a few games that I thought they should have pretty easily. And they're not playing at home. This is at Arizona State. Grand Canyon's a lot better at home. So ASU, minus 3.5.
Crosstown drive, not a lot of travel.
Yeah, travel's nothing.
Grand Canyon has the two former Arizona State guys, Tayshaun Cherry and Boo Boo Woods. I think that's probably what Hurley's referring to in terms of like, it means so much for Grand Canyon. But maybe. I'm with you, Kai. I would punch against the market here. I just think it's too low. Like these teams aren't equal on a neutral court.
They're not equal.
They shouldn't be, even without Bagley.
Agree.
I will say Bart Torvik has Grand Canyon like 30 spots above Arizona State.
Wow.
I outright disagree with that. So we'll see. We'll see
Arizona State had some poor efforts early when Graham was out.
Yes.
And somebody else was out too.
Yeah, and he's back. Graham's back. And
Heath was out the first two.
Back as well. So just Bagley. They're used to life without Bagley now. I just think it's a little too low. That concludes our show today. Okay, we are definitely off tomorrow. I got that. We got that wrong yesterday.
I beefed that. I totally airballed it.
Definitely off tomorrow for like the 15-game slate. We're back on Saturday at 10:15 Central. Talk about the enormous slate
93 games that day, I believe.
I know, it was a lot.
Whoa. All right. Again, thanks to BetRivers, the presenters of this show. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Best Bets, Field of 68 Best Bets. We'll see you on Saturday. Have a great rest of your Thursday.